Kyle Kulinski is absolutely going to war against Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, of course, being a big old podcaster who recently got dethroned by Midas Touch, an anti-Trump group. So Joe Rogan, of course, has shifted hard to the right since the election. He endorsed Trump. He brought Trump on his show. He had a very, very softball interview with him, asked him a bunch of really friendly questions, and rarely, if ever, got adversarial with him. So Kyle Kulinski took to Twitter, and he noticed how Joe Rogan has had all these billionaires, all these uber wealthy elites on his show, and just coddled up to them. Just friendly questions, softball questions. And it's like, dude, you weren't like this before. You had people like Senator Bernie Sanders on before. You had generic conservatives on who were not billionaires and not, robber barons who were trying to get a bunch of wealth for themselves through the system. So Kyle Kulinski tweeted a picture of some of Rogan's recent guests. We got billionaire, Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, Mark Zuckerberg, the two billionaire Marks. We got Peter Thiel. Yeah, so all four of these guys very recently, and Joe Rogan's had them on and played patty cakes with them. And it's like, buddy, what is going on here? And so as Kyle Kulinski calls him out for, suck off the robber barons experience. The Joe Rogan experience is the suck off the robber barons experience. Like, what happened to this man? So obviously some of those are worse than others. I think Mark Andreessen and Elon Musk are among the worst. Peter Thiel, of course, probably closely behind them. Musk surpassed Thiel recently because of the way that he's been acting with Doge and the way that he's destroying the federal government and destroying people's lives by firing federal workers and harassing them in emails. Zuckerberg, of course, is traditionally more of a centrist type guy, but he's slyly become more pro-Trump recently, probably because he's afraid of some sort of retribution against Trump. He said, we're no longer going to fact check people on Facebook, which of course, because the Trump administration and because pro-Trump accounts tend to stretch the truth the most, this is something that is going to disproportionately benefit Trump supporters. Not to say that progressives and leftists don't stretch the facts, but pro-Trump accounts on Facebook lie all the time. It riles up their boomer base. They get mad. They screech about how Democrats are satanic and all that stuff. So he's got these four billionaires on his show in such a short span of time. And then, of course, he got the king of the billionaires, or the president of the billionaires, I should say, Donald Trump on right before the election. It's like, what a pivot. And these guys are cackling, I bet, behind the scenes because they're like, yes, we can use this podcast to normalize what we do, normalize our exorbitant amount of wealth. Like, hey, we're just like you, regular people. We're just like American citizens, We're basically middle class, just really wealthy, by the way. Just so wealthy, got more money than the bottom 90% of the country combined. We're normal people you would want to grab a beer with. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not normal people. The average American, people point this out. Progressives point this out a lot. The average American has more in common with an undocumented immigrant who's broke and a homeless person than they do with a billionaire. They're closer to them in terms of wealth. They don't have stuff in common with billionaires. So what on earth does Joe Rogan think he's doing by trying to normalize these people? Now you might say, well, he just wants to have a conversation with them. That's what Joe Rogan does. He's a chill guy. He has conversations. Not all of it has to be partisan. Not all of it has to be about normalizing people. And it's like, well, what do you think having a conversation with them and not asking them any adversarial questions at all does? It normalizes them. It makes people think, oh yeah, well, I guess, this person's chill. They're probably looking out for my best interests. Wrong. They're looking out for the interests of their corporation, and they lie a lot. Mark Andreessen, infamous liar, just spread a bunch of hoaxes about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau because he wants to gut the administrative state, because the administrative state is going to make it harder for him to keep hoarding wealth. So he played the victim and went off on a big tirade of lies, and Joe Rogan even kind of had this incredulous face. He fell for it all, hook, line, and sinker. So, these people know Joe Rogan's not going to push back on them, that he's just going to be like, huh? Wow, oh yeah. And yeah, he used to push back on hardcore right-wingers who lied. Matt Walsh even. Joe Rogan did a very fine job pushing back on Matt Walsh, getting Jamie to fact check him about the number of people who are taking puberty blockers, I think it was, or something like that. Matt Walsh was greatly exaggerating things, and Joe Rogan called him out. But now he has these billionaires on, and I sense that there's an air of deference from Rogan where it's like, they're billionaires, they've got to know more than me. How do they make so much money? They got to be really smart, right? They couldn't have, inherited a good chunk of it. So he's like, oh yeah, you're so cool, you're so smart. Joe Rogan is basically like hinting at that, like Elon Musk, oh, he's too smart, I don't even feel human compared to him. Elon Musk is like superhuman, he's so amazing. Dude, you picked the wrong guy to worship. You picked the wrong guy to worship. Why are we not on Mars now, Elon Musk? You said that back in 2011. Why do you make promises that you can't keep? If he's going to do that, then he's a good fit for the Trump administration because they make promises that they can't keep all the time. Trump himself specifically does. Peter Thiel, of course, he's buddies with J.D. Vance. He advanced Vance, pun intended, to be Trump's VP, as well as Trump's sons who said, hey, pick Vance to be your VP. And it ended up working out for him, so I won't knock it there. But hey, the guy is just cozying up to power now. How on earth can you claim to be anti-establishment and you have on these four ghouls back-to-back, or nearly back-to-back, in such a short span of time? How on earth are you challenging the status quo? How on earth are you challenging the establishment? And you know what? Look, I get it's just a podcast appearance, but it's the #2 podcast in America, and you're going on there. These guys definitely know they're going to increase their net worth as a result of this. They're going to increase their net worth. They're going to appeal to a bunch of Trump supporters, basically, because at this point, Zuckerberg even is like gradually becoming more and more pro-Trump. And yeah, there is a lot of concerning stuff going on with the Trump administration. And I think that the common theme that ties all of it together is help out the uber wealthy and people who are poor, middle class, upper middle class. They can all go piss off. They get to take home less money. They have to pay more taxes. But people like Elon Musk, people like Mark Andreessen, people like Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel, they're the good guys. They're the people who work the hardest. They're billionaires. They work so hard to make this country move. Nobody else actually does that. They work harder than the bottom 90% of this country combined, and that's how they got all their wealth. Don't look at their inheritance. By the way, cut the estate tax. Trump did that in his presidency the first time. He cut the estate tax, which only goes after the uber wealthy. Just making the uber wealthy pay a little bit more so that they can't, keep inheriting more and more from their parents and grandparents and passing down just exorbitant amounts of generational wealth, So hey, instead of getting all this generational wealth, the idea of the estate tax was the government can get it and the government can spend it on stuff that helps regular people. But no, we can't have that. It's the death tax. You don't want to get taxed just for dying, really? Why should we tax you for dying? That's what the Republicans say. They're sly. They're sly. They're good at messaging. Even though they tell blatant lies, they're good at repeating things, and Democrats are not that good at staying on the money and calling them out. I think Democrats should call out Joe Rogan more. I do. Kyle Kulinski took a while to call him out, actually. For a while, he sort of turned a blind eye to Rogan's drift right. But now that this 2024 election has come around and Rogan has ripped the mask off aggressively, bringing Trump onto his show and basically coming out as a Trumper, endorsing Trump, yeah, he's got to go after him. Kyle Kulinski is doing what was long overdue, what should have been done a while ago. COVID broke Rogan's brain, and I think Kulinski, he points us out. He noticed it. So credit to him for noticing that. Now, of course, Rogan is trying to throw in a few caveats to restore his credibility. I covered how recently he said, Trump's inauguration was bizarre. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. But that, my friends, is how people gaslight you. That's how people gaslight you. They go, MAGA, Trump amazing, yeah, MAGA, I endorse Trump. But then they go, oh, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm just an American, I'm just concerned about Americans. And by the way, Trump's inauguration, it was really bizarre, They talk about a vague word, by the way. Why was it bizarre? Care to explain? He didn't explain. He just said, oh, it's just bizarre. What a punt. What a punt. He's just punting. He's just like, oh, well, bizarre. Trump. Me no like Trump. But by the way, I endorsed him. I'm not a Republican. I'm an American. How edgy. Nobody else has ever just called themselves a plain old American while simultaneously signal boosting all of the far-right talking points and helping billionaires spread their propaganda about the CFPB debanking people. The Joe Rogan propaganda show. Yeah, that's, or Kyle Kulinski's name, suck off the robber barons experience. He loves saying the word robber baron, by the way. He says it all the time on his show. You know, we have to make a bingo card with these Kulinski-isms. It's kind of funny, kind of charming. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below about Joe Rogan. What do you think has been going on with him? Did COVID break his brain? Was he going off the deep end long before? Did he go off the deep end just in the 2024 election? Let me know what you think. Please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Morris the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.